Nazism did not die. Review: Germany and the Holy Roman Empire. Back to where we were. In his book, Brian Connell sums up his ridiculous situation. The ridiculous situation developed after World War II. He wrote that in the spring of 1947, the vexed problem of the denazification, which had been handled up to the time by the Allied authorities, was handed over to the Germans. Just 2 years after their defeat, the Germans were actually told to denazify themselves. Isn't that crazy, you guys? Later, using Bavaria as just one example, Connell called the German denazification effort a farce, saying the Bavarian administration is largely in the hands of those who controlled it under Hitler. Connell's research substantiated the claim. Statistics show that 20,683 of the 49,445 civil servants belonged to the Nazi Party or its affiliates. A total of 14.443 of those were dismissed. A total of 14,443 of those were dismissed and later reinstated in the service. Almost all of the 11,000 teachers who were removed for political reasons have been reappointed, representing roughly 60% of the teaching staff employed by the Ministry of Education. 60% of the 1,500 employees in the Finance Ministry are former Nazis, and 81% of the 924 judges, magistrates, and prosecutors, whatever they are, in the Ministry of Justice. To make matters worse, just 4 years after the Allies handed the denazification process over to the Germans, sounds funny, the German government declared officially that the denazification procedure had been terminated. So much for cleaning itself of the Nazi virus. Public opinion after the war indicated that Nazism was still in full force. Roger Eatwell referred to these revealing option polls in his book, Fascism. Although only about 10 to 15% of the population were classified as hardcore Nazi, the researchers found that there was a strong, lingering sense of racism. In 1946, 48% of Germans thought that some races were more fitted to rule than others. Even more remarkably, in 1949, 59% were willing to say that Nazism was a good idea, badly carried out. Few claim to have been opponents of the regime. Several other historical documents released in the past years add to Connell's evidence that the Germans failed to denazify themselves. In 1997, okay, hang on a second, guys. In 1991, Mark Ahrens and John Loftus released a book titled Unholy Trinity, which told the story of how Vatican-sponsored underground networks illegally smuggled Nazi leaders out of the country after the war. Ahrens and Loftus based their findings on newly released U.S. intelligence documents that had been classified for over 50 years. In 1996, another shocking intelligence document was released to the public. It revealed that when Nazi leaders realized they were losing the war in 1944, they met with top German industrialists to seek financing for the underground Nazi Party, so that a strong German empire can be created after the defeat. This intelligence document, which should have been sent shockwaves through every newsroom in the world, received only sparse coverage. 1997, Martin Lee, in his fascinating book, The Beast Reawakens, revealed that there had never really been a clean break from the Nazi past, given that the original leadership of the West German Bundeswehr were recruited directly from the upper echelons of Hitler's army. Only three out of 217 Bundeswehr generals in 1976 were not Third Reich veterans, and 37 military bases in Bonn Republic were named after soldiers who made the reputations during Hitler's years. From these documented facts, and from what we see in Germany today, there are two overriding themes we ought to let sink into our minds. First, the almost overnight transformation of Germany from a devastated nation sifting through rubble and ashes to one of the most dominant and powerful nations in the world is nothing short of miraculous. Second, and equally miraculous, is the relative ease at which prominent Nazi leaders were either carted away to safety through vast underground networks, or else admitted into the same position they held during Hitler's regime. Next one's called The Wall Comes Down. Most people know a little bit about that from the older days anyway. The younger generation maybe a little bit, but not so much. I got first-hand experience. I was about 6 years old, I think, when that happened. And the wall did come down. That was in the 80s, but we'll review that next time on the next one. Alright? So, next time it's called The Wall Comes Down.